Hello, my name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Sprocket, West Kentucky, and KY Innovation. Welcome back to episode 254 of 10 at 10. And today we are looking at the news of the last few days and weeks, seeing what is out there that we can learn about, that we can take away, that can help make us a little bit safer. Somebody asked me, how do I choose the articles that we talk about? And I always tell you, and I always want to make sure that I'm clear, is that the articles that we pick are based on how can I help you become a little safer. It may not be the biggest news stories. Sometimes they're the biggest news stories, but not all the time. It's the stories that I think that can help, that you can take action on to help make you a little bit safer and protect you, your family, and your organization a little bit better. So with that said, let me just dig into the first story. And the first story I think is really interesting. So for years, um, the primary way, and it's still the primary way, but the primary way that people were attacking or phishing uh, uh, against you, so phishing you to get you to click on a link or open a file or whatever it might be, has been email. That has been the predominant way for a long, long time, and it's still the predominant way. But to me, what is interesting is that now 1 in 3 phishing attempts are taking place in another using another channel. What does that mean? That could mean social media. That could be LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a place where a lot of phishing attempts are taking place, and let me kind of break this down a little bit. First of all, the whole point of a phishing email or a phishing attempt is to get you to do something, typically to get you to click a link. What can I do to get you to click a link? I could craft an email that is really sneaky and tricky that tricks you into clicking a link. On LinkedIn, if you just think about it, why are you on LinkedIn? Because you want to meet people, you want to network, you want to learn about things that are going on. So if I could craft something, if a bad guy could craft something on LinkedIn well enough, they might be able to entice you to clicking that link. I mean, we are on LinkedIn because we want to meet people. It's because we want the connections. Frankly, other nations know that too. And there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that look like they're real legitimate people, but they're actually fake accounts being run by agents of the government for the sole purpose to convince us to click a link so that they can steal our credentials, steal our financial information. There's a lot of bad things that can happen, and really the reason they do it is, the biggest reason is that on your email at work, there's security controls. You have regular phishing campaigns internally to try to teach you what to look for in emails. But it's being monitored and sometimes even blocked before it gets to you, and you don't even see those phishing emails. So if you go to LinkedIn, if you go to some of these other methods, then you are even bypassing those methods so that you don't have to do that. So that's one. It's cheap, it's scalable for attackers. It's pretty easy to have access to high value targets. Think about it. You're not wanting to meet the janitor on LinkedIn. You're wanting to meet a CEO or a CIO or somebody high up in an organization. And because users are wanting to meet each other on LinkedIn, users are more likely to fall for it. And if you can get somebody to do some things on LinkedIn because they're high value targets, meaning that they're higher up in the organization, there's a large potential of profit in the back end. Anyway, be careful. Point of all this article, and I went through that probably in more detail than I should have. The point of that article is you always have to be skeptical no matter what you're doing. Be careful. Think about the adversary of how they could use something for their benefit. And LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn. You may be watching this on LinkedIn, but so often LinkedIn can be used against us, and we have to be careful. All right, let me go on to the next thing. So next, this is really just an update on something we talked about a month or so ago. Part of the budget furlough or the budget standoff and the government shutdown, something that was impacted in all of that was the CISA, and not the agency, but the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015. What that act did was allowed private organizations and government organizations to share indicators of compromise and cybersecurity information back and forth, so that if I see something at my company, I can share some of the details with other agencies and organizations, and I won't have the impact of what might happen. Um, there wouldn't be a legal impact of me sharing that information. That bill sunsetted in September 30th of this year, 10 years after its passage and implementation, and it needed to be extended. Well, we kind of got some relief, as the headline says, brief relief. It has been extended to January 30th. That's not what we exactly want, but it's better than nothing. So some of the budget bill extended for longer. Some of it expires January 30th as well. So hopefully between now and January 30th, we can take up that CISA Act and extend it for a longer time than this just temporary patch. So that's something important to take a look at. But anyway, I wanted to make sure I shared that. Um, this week on, I believe it was Tuesday, Cloudflare had an outage. Easy for me to say. Cloudflare is a cloud provider, online hosting provider that is used by a lot of applications such as ChatGPT, X, Dropbox, Shopify, the video game League of Legends. I assumed when it happened that it was some sort of a cyber attack. According to Cloudflare, it was not a cyber attack. Their CTO uh, said it was not an attack, that it was a latent bug in a service underpinning our bot mitigation capability. It was an internal error. Now, do I believe them? Maybe, maybe not. But the point of this for me to tell you is that in cybersecurity, there's what's called the CIA triad. And it's kind of the three fundamental components the objectives that you have in security. You're supposed to keep data. You're supposed to maintain the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of your data, no matter what, whether it's an internal threat, external threat, whether it's on purpose with malicious intent, or it's an accident. The reality is, assuming that what their CTO is saying is true, that it was an accident, there was a period of time that data was not available. That is an availability issue. If you'll notice this article up in the top corner, it says incident response. That's the category of article. It's because it was an incident. It was still a cyber incident. It may have not been an attack, but the reality is one of those three pillars in the CIA triad were violated, and we had to respond. So for your organization, if you're depending on other organizations, then what are you doing to maintain the availability, the integrity, and the confidentiality of your data? And what's the backup plan for on availability? That's what we're talking about. All right. Next up is CMMC. So we have talked about CMMC on here a few times. CMMC is a cybersecurity maturity model certification. It's a certification that if you're a company that does business with the Department of War, then you have to go through this certification process. It recently, this month, went into effect that it now all new Department of War contracts will have a CMMC component. For the next year, you have to go through a self assessment. And then following that, you'll have to do a third party assessment, depending on the levels. There's level 1, level 2, level 3. So it depends on the levels. But what this new survey said is that finds two-thirds of contractors prepared for the cybersecurity certification or have been prepared for several years, while nearly 40% have not completed their required self-assessment. Supposedly, Department of War says that um, phase one of the implementation program of the security program says that everybody should have a self assessment really already, but very in short order, and that it is likely that the new contracts will say it, but you're supposed to be doing this, and there's nearly 40% that have not done it yet. If you do business with the Department of War, the Defense Department, whatever you want to call it, then you need to make sure that you're tracking this. What I would ask you is reach out to me, and I can kind of guide you in a direction of where you need to go and steps that you need to take, because this is an important thing that we need to be doing. All right. I only got to a few of our stories. I was still missing a story. That's okay. I'll try to come back to it in a future episode. But if you have questions, if there's anything that sticks out and you want to talk more about it, reach out to me. I'm always happy and willing to have a conversation about what's going on. And if there's anything I can do to help you, please reach out. And I will see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.